Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for those of you who've been watching my videos for a little while, you'll know that I live in Chicago with my boyfriend. We've lived here for over 2 years now. I filmed quite a few videos about it, which I can link down below if you want to check those out or if you want more context on what this video is about. But back in, I believe, August, we moved into a new apartment. We used to live downtown and I wanted to kind of get out of the city so that it was less expensive, and I don't know, I was kind of just wanting more of a like suburban feel. However, the process of moving did not go as planned. I do have a video talking about all of that, so as I said, I'll link that down below because I don't need to just like repeat myself. But we've been living in this apartment for about like 4 or 5 months now, but I wanted to film this video giving a little bit of an update and why we're considering moving back into downtown, maybe even back into our old apartment building. So our apartment search was not great at the time. A lot of people were moving, so there wasn't a ton of options even available, and there was a lot of stuff that happened in that process. But the apartment that we live in now is actually one of the last ones we looked at, and at the time it seemed like the best option with everything that we had. We do still live like in the city of Chicago, we just don't live directly downtown. It is about a 45 to 50 minute train ride to get downtown, so it's not like super convenient even to go to that location. The location we live in now also isn't ideal. I'd say it's definitely not as busy as downtown, but it still doesn't feel like what I was hoping for. I wanted like a yard and I don't know, parking and stuff like that to be, you know, more easily accessible, but really you do have to kind of move out into the suburbs in order to get that. The reason that we don't do that is my boyfriend wanted the opportunity to still go into work, and he works downtown. We just kind of were trying to find an in-between, I guess. We used to live in like a very large apartment building, and the building we live in now is only like 8 units, and so it's a lot smaller. Also, everyone in our building owns their units. We're the only renters. The current tenant actually gave us the tour, which was nice because I thought that I would get like more insight on what it was like living in this unit. There were specific things that I remember asking, like how soundproof is it? Like, is it pretty quiet? And he said yes. There is like, if you can see this brick up here, this brick wall runs like all the way down the hallway. So we really don't hear anything from the lady like next to us. How it's set up is like 2 units next to each other and then it just goes up from there. And then he said that the lady above has a house somewhere else so that she's not really here that often. So he really never hears her either. So I was like, okay, that's perfect. However, after living here for a while, we found most of that to be untrue. I think it's definitely louder here than it was in our downtown apartment. There's always people like screaming and yelling and blasting music or whatever outside, which you can hear very clearly. It's true that we never hear the lady next to us, but the lady upstairs, when she is here, is so incredibly loud. She comes mainly on the weekends, usually from like a Thursday to a Monday, but she brings a lot of her friends and I think they just like hang out here for the weekend. Problem is the footsteps upstairs are so loud. I have never heard anything louder in my life. I'm a very heavy sleeper. Like I sleep through thunderstorms, whatever, like nothing really wakes me up, but the sound of these footsteps, they are so incredibly loud. We've tried using like a fan or a sound machine or even like earplugs and nothing really works. Another thing is she will be pretty quiet, or maybe she's just not there all the way up until like 11 p.m. And then it's like she just paces back and forth from like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then she's like up again at like 7 in the morning. I mean, I guess luckily it's on the weekends mainly, so we can sleep in a little bit. Then again, like I said, she wakes up at 7, so it's very loud pretty much all night. We haven't like officially met her, and we haven't really said anything because I don't really know how to ask someone to just like stop walking in their apartment. So we're just trying to kind of like deal with it and get through the year. Another thing that I asked the tenant when we were touring is if the landlord was good, like if he was pretty responsive. And he said yes, like he always puts in like the highest quality things. I would say that that maybe is like partially true. If we text him about something, he usually does respond to the text pretty fast. But upon moving in, we kind of had a bad experience because he hired cleaners that I'm pretty sure didn't even come, or if they did, they made it messier in my opinion. And when we talked to him about this and like showed him like how messy everything was, he called the cleaning company and had them come back out, and they were here for all of like 20 minutes and really did not do much at all. Like again, I feel like they left the place messier than it was. And then when we told our landlord that and like sent him pictures and everything, he just kind of like apologized and that was it. We were hoping maybe we could get like a different cleaning company, one that would actually do good. But that wasn't the case. We ended up having to kind of just clean everything ourselves. So I was already kind of disappointed with that experience. Then we had like quite a few things break, and it took forever for him to like get someone out here. He said that he was trying to like research and see who the best people were, which is great. I'm trying to think, like the main issues that we had when we moved in was that we had no cold water in the kitchen. So like out of the kitchen sink, it was just like boiling hot water. Like I'm saying, you can't even like touch it because it was so hot. And then also our like bathroom sink was leaking. So those were like the biggest issues, I'd say. We didn't get them fixed until I think like a month or maybe even more than a month into living here. And over time, I feel like every other week we have a new problem to contact him about. And he has apologized. He's been like, it feels like everything like kind of went wrong when you guys moved in. And I was like, I promise we're not breaking anything. Like we're not doing anything. But we've just like had a lot of issues with all of it. I guess it's nice having like the space, but even then there's not a ton to do in this area. Like there's a lot of restaurants, I guess, but other than that, like there's not much for activities. There's also not many people our age. Like the average age of this area is more like mid-30s. It's just hard to go from living in an area where we were within a 20-minute walk of probably anything you could think of. And now that's just not the case. And at least living like in the suburbs, you're able to drive places and park places, and that helps you get there more conveniently. But we're kind of in this awkward situation where everything's too far to walk, but you're still in the city, so you can't drive because unless you want to pay a ridiculous amount for parking, it's just not happening. And public transportation just isn't reliable, and it's also just not ideal. It takes forever. And like I said, I think that this area in general is a lot louder than our other area was. So it's currently January now, and our lease here doesn't end until September. We usually do it, or how we've done it in the past, is where we have 1 month overlap. So if we were gonna sign a new lease, we'd sign it starting in August, because then we kind of have that whole month to slowly move versus having to do everything on a weekend. So I think we'll definitely be looking for new apartments starting in, I don't know, probably like May or June. And we really do want to move back to our old area. In our building specifically, even though it was still expensive, because if you live downtown, everything is going to be expensive. But our building was one of the cheaper but yet nicer, like kept up buildings. So that's why we're kind of considering going back there. But I'm starting a new job next week, and although they have multiple locations, their main locations are up north in Waukegan, which is by like the border of Wisconsin, and then there's also one by O'Hare Airport. and those are pretty far from where we are. The job does offer like some telehealth options, so since I haven't like started yet, I'm not sure how much of it will be telehealth. Ideally, I'd be able to do the majority of it telehealth and then go in maybe like 1 day a week, but there's so much up in the air right now that I'm just kind of taking it day by day. But if you are considering moving to Chicago and you are in like your 20s, I would definitely recommend more of like the downtown locations. I'd say the top areas that I would recommend are Lincoln Park, Old Town, Streeterville. Gold Coast is beautiful if you can afford it. River North is also a good area. But yeah, that is kind of an update on our moving process and why we are most likely moving back to downtown. So stay tuned for some more like apartment hunting videos. Even though we are kind of thinking about moving back into our building, that building has a lot of different like setups of the units. So we're gonna probably tour multiple of those, but then on top of that, tour other apartments in the areas that we like, because why not? So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're curious to see more videos on Chicago living and Chicago apartment hunting and all of that, please hit that subscribe button below. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please put them in the comments. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.